Right now I'm standing under the scenic crossover where the murky water continued to flow this afternoon. Families living there, community members, and state leaders told their case to those from Washington, D.C. He said the call came in right around 4 o'clock this morning from a man inside the home at 2330 North Travis. Father, son, and hero for Cedar County by friends, family, and strangers. From here at home plate to first base is 60 feet. Then we count out another 90 feet into the outfield. I spoke with Haygood's grandmother, who says that he was dealt a bad hand from the beginning. We've seen a lot of snowplows come through, but I want to point out, this is the turning lane. Missouri Hotel was expected to close this coming Friday, but will now stay open through March because all those families living inside have not been relocated. Priorities are going to be your interstates and Highway 60, James River Freeway throughout the area. These miners are constantly running to decode an encrypted message or math problem and send the correct answer back to the Bitcoin Foundation. Negotiations wouldn't begin until next spring and construction not until 2020. In the bushes, under a bench, or even under a rock. When a fire breaks out, minutes count for firefighters arriving on the scene. Fire Captain Andy Mooneyham is one of those firefighters. Mooneyham and her wife married in California a year ago. When she came back to the Ozarks, they began looking for equality for same-sex couples, starting with their health benefits.
In March of this past year, the Obama administration mandated that health insurance companies have to offer the same rights and benefits to same-sex couples as they do straight couples.
Currently, the district's policy offers family insurance for heterosexual couples.
There was 2 sections of the policy.
Chief Darren White says the discussions are new to the district.
This topic was brought up about basically defining a spouse and what a spouse is.
Mooneyham
proposed a change to the recognition of marriage licenses and the definition of a spouse.
That's going to help me and my partner out financially and just stress-wise too. To know that I work for a district that supports us.
The district is insured through Anthem. A spokeswoman said in an email, quote, "We refer to it as a domestic partner, as we don't really get into whether it is marriage or not, and we do permit either same-sex or opposite-sex domestic partner coverage as elected by the group," end quote, leaving the decision in the hands of the board.
There were some in favor of this, and they voiced their opinion as to why. There were some opposed. And likewise.
Captain Mooneyham says whether she's gay or straight doesn't determine how she fights a fire, and she's proven that over the last 8 years she's been with the district. Elzar Soto is a firefighter on Mooneyham's shift and says no matter who she loves, they're a family.
If I was to get hurt, she would have my back. It's back and forth. I'm her spine, she's my spine.
Chief White says districts handle plenty of issues professionally and avoid distractions. This is no different.
The citizens should feel comfortable that these people here, these firefighters, these DOs, driver operators, these captains, they will continue to do the same work they've always done.
In the end, Mooneyham is a firefighter at heart. That'll never change.
I love where I work. I love my friends and family that I have there.
Every mission and every personnel serving in Fort Leonard Wood is vital, is needed, and needs to stay. We won't go quietly.
It doesn't have a hard time spending money, but it does seem to have a hard time finding things where we shouldn't spend money so we can spend more money on the things we should spend money on.
That's the message to Pentagon leaders who traveled to Fort Leonard Wood Monday night.
Each year, more than 80,000 of the brave men and women who protect the nation and support freedom around the globe receive critical training right here.
The cuts are part of the sequestration from 2011.
At the end of this fiscal year, the Army will be at 490,000 soldiers.
Senator Claire McCaskill says the cuts are only hurting the military.
Some of the lowest costs for training, direct costs in the military are right here.
Army Colonel Carl Konzelman says the 5,400 is the maximum number proposed. It's part of a 70,000 job reduction across the country.
Anything going from below 490 to 450 or down to 420 will be real live units.
With that many soldiers, the military would be the smallest it's been since World War II.
We're looking at so many threats around the world, whether it be ISIL or Russia or China or North Korea.
Not only nationally, the cuts would be devastating to the Ozark Highlands communities.
There would be a loss of about $318,000 in sales, about $300,000 in total income.
Senator Roy Blunt says we shouldn't be cutting from the base, but adding to it.
Our goal is not only to keep jobs here and keep training here. Frankly, one of my goals is to find things that are happening other places that would better happen at Fort Leonard Wood.
And the final decision won't come down until later this spring, and if they do have to cut jobs, it'll happen over the next 5 years. Now, 2 years ago, the Post was facing 3,900 job cuts, and that was actually reduced to 1,200, so we'll have to wait to see how many this round. Live outside Fort Leonard Wood, Brett Martin, KOLR10 News.
Brett. From the old country.
Morning after morning, Lyle Foster brews cup after cup inside his espresso cafe.
Many times people have thought that I was the chief cook, the baker, the candlestick maker, and that's all fine, and I get that. But I think it's really been an opportunity to help be part of the entrepreneurial, renaissance.
Foster isn't any of the above. He's the owner of Big Mama's Coffee on Commercial Street.
They'll see me behind the counter. They want to know, do we have barbecue? And I'm kind of like, no, it's a coffee shop, and most times coffee shops don't really serve barbecue.
Like anyone else behind a counter, the Chicago transplant hears both positives and negatives. Still, his mug is always half full.
It's been a very interesting experience. Obviously, there are sometimes I kind of like, wow, this is a different part of the world.
Since 1829, Springfield's been growing. In the early 1900s, the largest grocery stores were owned by the Hardwick brothers, two African Americans, at this spot just off the square downtown. Then in the 1930s, the Grahams ran a barbecue restaurant while helping blacks who were traveling through with a place to stay in a cabin like this one when Springfield hotel rooms wouldn't rent to them because of the color of their skin. Skin color is no longer the barrier to business that it once was in Springfield, but the city still lacks diversity when it comes to race. Former president of the Springfield Area Chamber of Commerce, Jim Anderson.
We are the second most white city in America. I'm not proud of that. Of metropolitan areas above 400,000, we're second only to Portland, Maine.
However, sweeping the past away isn't easy, but Anderson says it has to be done.
You have to have an area, a community that values diversity. You have to have a welcoming community or a welcoming area, but the talent tomorrow is going to be one that's a diverse talent.
Whether it's making changes at your business, creating a plan or program at City Hall, or turning to fine arts, having that conversation is the first step. Foster says whatever the platform, it's important.
I think it's just helping people to realize people do a variety of things, and we participate in any number of different type of business ventures, not always hair salons and barbecue restaurants.
Every Friday and Saturday night in February, Foster opens his Back Porch Theater for entertainment with a real message.
I really feel that helping to explain to people the rights, the privileges that we all enjoy, that for some communities we have to fight, we have to march, we have to protest, we have to speak up.
The late Augusto Boal, founder of the Theater of the Oppressed, famously said, theater is a rehearsal for the future. It's a rehearsal for life.
John Herbert directs Rites to Passage, a fictional story surrounding similar racial tensions to current events like Ferguson.
The white thief or the dead black kid presumed to be the thief.
It's about an hour-long feature-length one-act that involves a white police officer who has just shot and killed a black teenager.
He was a good kid. Want to be a lawyer someday.
Herbert believes the stage is the starting point to a conversation not always easily discussed.
I don't get to use a more intimate version of, oh, one of my best friends is black version.
It gives us this space to say, hey, here's what people are thinking and feeling. Here's what people want to say, but don't want to say. And we can all look at it. It's fiction. We're all okay. Now let's talk about it.
On a cold morning, black coffee in a white mug isn't just a way of revenue. It's a constant reminder of a successful combination for Foster. Two colors existing together, dependent on one another. Now he hopes it'll break through the walls of his coffee shop to the streets of Springfield.
You don't have to prove to me that, that you're fair. I mean, I assume that. I'm not looking at you thinking, you hate me or you've got prejudice and bias. I'm looking at you as another traveler on the journey called life. So let's walk down the road together.